Good to see you, girl. Bro, are you there? I think you muted.
I'm not muted. I'm waiting for you to kick it off.
Okay, cool. All right, awesome. All right, guys. Well, welcome. We're excited to be back. It's been, like I said, it's been a little while, and we just wanted to come back and just share a little bit about where we've been, what we've been up to, um,
Where we been?
what sabbatical has taught us, what we're kind of taking from all those lessons and implementing. And yeah, we just wanted to say hi and give you guys a quick update here on where we're at. So, sabbatical was interesting on a few levels. Obviously, I know everyone was going through some crazy times wherever you were in the world. I'm sure you had your share of craziness, as did we. I'll share with you like a little family highlight that I had that I thought was pretty interesting. And that is that Fanny and I decided that we were going to do a full kitchen renovation at the end of February, and came to, and so basically like mid-February, the entire family moved into our basement. We have this like little kitchenette area with a sink, and luckily we had like a living room area set up just a little bit before that. But yeah, so we moved down. We were like super excited. We made it with the kids like we were moving into this like New York City apartment living type situation instead of living in a house, because the rest of our house was either covered in boxes or furniture that we moved and all that kind of dirt and whatever. And yeah, the project got completely stalled for about 6 weeks. So we ended up living in our basement for right around like three and a half months, pretty much during this entire time. So on top of the fact that we were locked inside, we were locked inside of our
Inside.
basement, um, and it was interesting because I think this time with Corona was a highlighter for wherever anyone was at the time. And what I mean by that, it kind of like highlighted whatever people were or were not paying attention to. So, for example, when people ask me, how was your time? Personally, I really enjoyed the time of Corona life, as I like to call it. I think everything got boiled down to its essence. I really enjoyed more time with my family and my kids. Still do. We created fun games. Before dinner, we would just go for like walks around the block together. We spent time like chatting in our little basement that we had, and um, it was great. I'm not saying that we didn't have our moments, but ultimately it was quite great. And I think for a lot of people, being stuck in the house with their families highlighted the cracks of the things that they haven't been dealing with. Highlighted the fact that they weren't happy in their marriage. They weren't happy being at home, and that's why they spend hours and hours at work. They didn't have opportunities to hide away at a bar or at the gym or bury themselves in work like everyone was at home. And that's what I mean. I think it just highlighted whatever you weren't looking at necessarily. So for us, it was actually quite a beautiful experience. My wife and I talk about it quite a lot, about specifically like with kids. I think a lot of the times parents want to run around and create different activities for the kids all the time. And we just found that like simplicity was the key. Like our kids would beg us at the end of the day to take a walk around the block, and like we just walked around the block and talked, and that was like a highlight for them. And so I just find it incredibly funny how we get wrapped up and thrown into this phase of we need to do this and we need to do that, and meanwhile like none of it matters. Just being with each other and having fun with each other and being creative with each other was just I don't know. It was really, really beautiful. So I'll stop there for a second. I'll let you say whatever you want to say because I got some other things also. But
Yeah, just to harp on that too. Yeah, I think coronavirus is a magnifier. A lot of you guys already know the stories because they were happening before we took the sabbatical. So I won't tell you guys all my stuff, but it definitely feels like I think something we learned during sabbatical is like most things, right? There's a dichotomy in the system. So we have this part that seems really active in society, this doer, this part that wants to achieve all the time, get more, make more happen, learn more. You know, just constantly reaching. And I think as we continue to do that, we add, in contrast to what Elon's talking about, a lot of complexity to our lives, right? It's like this project and this technology and got to learn this thing and got to do that thing, got to get myself in shape. And, you know, we've changed the direction of humanity a lot because we've all suddenly become, if not experts, at least practitioners and students in a lot of different areas of life, where before people had pretty narrow lanes. And I think that just that layering, like, you know, I'm often confused. I'm like, do I focus on my nutrition right now? Do I focus on my health right now? Do I focus on my spirituality right now? Do I focus on my family right now? And it feels like every day we're just trying to do more and more to become more and more to prove that we're more and more. If there's something I have seen, some of you guys probably know this, some of you guys don't. I went from living beachfront, you know, about 4 blocks off the beach for almost 7 years to moving in with my wife's family. I always want to call them parents-in-law, but that's not it. In-laws. That's the thing. Thank you. I was like parents-in-law. That never sounds quite right. I moved in with my in-laws into a house that already had 5 people in it. So we've been living 8 people deep in this house. It's literally been like kibbutz camp style living, and I think something that became really apparent while we were here is how much pressure we've individually put on ourselves to make something of ourselves, right? Like the old world was you lived around your family helped you raise children, you didn't have to prove yourself through your career or your business or through social media, and now there's like all these different things kind of like tugging and pulling at us to make something of ourselves. And while that has a lot of positivity and good aspects, what it creates is this overactive doer, this overactive achiever. And if you've kind of heard our it's really becoming our trademark. It's like, stop trying to make yourself feel better, just get better at feeling. What I think we found during the sabbatical period is that there's a doer and there is a receiver. And when you're doing all the time, the receiver gets very little of your energy. And if you think about how ancestrally the world was for a very long period of time, right? Our ancient humans, so to speak, they would just wake up and know that they'd be provided for. There'd be food, and you know, there'd be shade, and there'd be all these things, and there was like an energy to that. So we've been exploring that energy of support throughout this entire sabbatical. Like, what is it like to really not let the achiever make all the decisions, continue to do things, continue to try to achieve, but instead really just be in our practice, open up to receiving and see what happens. And the magical thing was that within the first few weeks of our sabbatical, our company revenue jumped more within the 3 weeks than we had produced in the 3 months prior, which was pretty wild to see. But also, like, all these other different facets of support in our lives and opportunities started coming in. So it's almost like the achiever, while it has a role, also plays this role of blocking what we're able to receive. And we've been saying this for years. You know, like, before I got married, I was systematically going on vacation about every 3 months because I had eventually noticed this phenomenon where every time I would go on vacation and let go of all our work processes, that's when the revenue of the company would actually jump up. That's when the private clients would come in. All these different things that you're trying to make happen would just suddenly happen on their own. And it was hard to dismiss that. So I was like, all right, cool. If that's what's happening, I don't really understand it, but I'm going to just take more vacations and kind of build that into my schedule. So sabbatical has been an opportunity to lean into that at like the day-to-day basis. And now even coming back, my interest is less in let's ramping up. Like, I have a friend who also did a sabbatical about a month before me. When I had a conversation with her afterwards, I could hear how excited she was, that she was like full forcing it. She's like, "Oh, I'm all ramped up again. I'm doing everything. I'm, like all this kind of stuff." And I'm like, "Oh, it's cool that you rested." I'm like, and you kind of missed a bit of the opportunity, which was to really learn that it's not just about that like we really can be provided for. When we're sitting in our alignment practices, these amazing things can happen to you. So we're kind of in this place now where it's like, I don't want to be working 5 days a week. I want to look at how do I create my life that I can be working 4 to 6 hours a day, maybe 3 days a week, and honestly treating my life more like a sabbatical that has some work in it than work and take some sabbatical time, because I have found that time to be so lucrative in terms of what it's returned to us. So that's kind of a bit of the conversation I want to have here today. Also give you guys a little bit of what's coming down the pike here really shortly, and what we've been working on behind the scenes these last few weeks for you guys. So I'll leave it at that and let you pick up from there.
Yeah, so one of the things that Guy was just pointing to is like, we took a sabbatical, and the sabbatical was with the idea of not touching the business, like no tinkering, no moving, no even thinking about it. We said like the first 2 weeks we're like not even going to talk about what we want to create or anything like that. We're just going to really like drop in. And one of the things we're going to talk a lot about this, but I don't know if you guys know the word emotional intelligence, but emotional intelligence basically is this, I guess, newish coined term, and it's the science of just understanding one's self. So kind of the work that Guy and I have been doing, this subtle mind, right, which most people know of, but more importantly, like this subtle body stuff that we've been bringing through and honoring that. And so we've created practices. And during sabbatical, rather than work, we would do these practices. We would sit in meditation for hours throughout the day. We would practice morning routines that were a lot longer, and we started to really delve into all these practices. And one of the things that really hit home for me was it was the first time where I made a switch in my mind between, I know like a lot of people have these morning routines, right? It's like, I'm going to meditate, I'm going to read my book, I'm going to whatever, stretch, whatever
Mm-hmm.
we do, write my gratitude journal. And if I were to ask you, like, why do you have a morning routine? Most of you would probably tell me that you have a morning routine because, it makes you feel better. It gets your day started on the right foot, things like that. And that's kind of how I used to look at it. I used to look at it from a standpoint of I'm kind of like oiling the machine to get on with my day type of
Priming,
situation.
priming the
Yeah,
pumps.
priming. You said it. You said it. Um, After this sabbatical, what I really realized was that is my work. The coaching, the training, the making content, that's just a self-expression. That's just a way for me to share. But the work is actually doing, my qigong and yin yoga, my meditations, session work, both with my coaches and then that I give to others, um, meditating for long periods of time, even reading, like that is the work. And what I kind of created the analogy in my head is like if I was a kung fu master, right, and I was teaching people all day long, then in the off time when I'm not teaching, I have to go into the dojo and master my own skills because I have no business teaching others if I'm not doing that work.
Sure.
And when I made that switch, something very interesting happened. Like we pack our day and we have these, however you split your day, but there's these blocks of time that you have. All right, this block is for this block is for that. But when I started to get that, like, if I were just doing my own work, if I just did my internal practices and things like that, I just started to watch as all of this other stuff started to work around me. Like, Guy and I didn't touch our business, didn't do a thing. And all of these things were showing up to support us on our path. And the more we leaned into like, okay, we're just going to meditate for longer today, the more this amazing stuff showed up. The more we let go of, I'm not going to make this decision right now. we're not going to take that action right now. We're actually going to pause, lean back, and wait. Keep doing our practices and just wait for something to show up. And the stories are insane. Like within 24 to 48 hours, something always showed up to answer that exact question or that exact thing that we were talking about. It was just provided to us. So I want to offer you that. I know, like, a lot of the things that you hear us do, you might take on in your life as this, oh, it's nice because it makes me feel good thing. I really want to alter the conversation here and let you guys know that, maybe obviously you're not like in a coaching position, or some of you are, but just because we do this and this is our self-expression, that doesn't mean that all the other stuff isn't work. So it doesn't matter what you do, whether you're in e-com or you're an employee or anything like that. If you start to shift that, those inner practices, you're not just doing because it makes you feel good, but you're doing because it is the source of your life. It is your job, if you will, here on earth. You'll completely change the game. And struggles around relationships, struggles around money, struggles around health, struggles around getting clarity around your business or confidence around your business or things like that will happen when you put yourself in situations that this becomes the daily work. Not just oh, it would be nice when I do these things, or like I do these things on the side to make myself feel good.
Yeah. Why don't we flip the script of what we usually do? Usually we'll kind of like tell them what we're about. Why don't we just drop the link of what we're doing? So if, I want to be sensitive to people's times and stuff like that. So why don't we drop the link and then we'll explain what it is about so you guys can, explore that even if you don't have time to stick here for an entire live. Does that feel okay?
Yeah, you can, even if you want, you can share screen if you're wanting to do
Yeah,
that as well.
well, let me, hey, Christine. And so for everybody who's here,
Because if you drop the link, they're gonna have to go there, and then they'll.
yeah. So I'm doing it for people who like can't stick around. So here's what's next, basically. I'll just drop that in there. So we're talking about get emotional intelligence is really what the focus is of the organization moving forward. What we found even before sabbatical, I mean, when you're talking about personal development, right, it's human development. So it's universal. Like we could create one program and probably sell that program for the next 30 years. There's a guy with the last name of Robbins who's been doing that, right? Like he took some tech. By the way, I don't know why we have panelists on here. We have like people watching it here.
Doesn't matter. They're
So
watching it this way or that
LC,
way.
yeah, LC Javon, if you guys are watching, that's great. But just so you know, it's on Facebook. I'm not really sure how this got out as a training to other people. But so yeah, so really our focus is about this emotional intelligence, and that's science's way of trying to clarify what this work is. At the deepest level, though, the practices that we've been a part of for close to the last 4 years are a divergence from the type of personal development work that we were doing. And our company, I think this is probably like Reboot 5.0. And it's not like we rebooted because there's really anything wrong. It's just like everybody else. Like we're shifting, we're changing. This type of work will have you change so much that it's like the essence of the energy that had created the programs before. We're really no longer in alignment with where we are right now. So as valuable as they are, we're still some people taking those programs right now. We know that there's so much more we can bring through and so much more value that we can produce in a fraction of the time that we were producing before. So the link that I dropped is called getemotionalintelligence.com/register. This is our new program that we're going to be launching here in roughly the next 2 weeks. Okay, so early August, this will launch. And for the first time in a very long time, I mean like 3 or 4 years, Elon and I will be taking people through a mastery or a master class, which means a 3-month program. So while we have been training people at a more advanced levels in our ascension model, if you want to call it that, we haven't done something like this in terms of a group training in quite some time. So I could tell you from a monetary perspective, from a time perspective, from a value perspective, this is as valuable as we can make a course. So look, guys, we've been sharing this for quite some time, but it was almost like we were trying to, like we had built a house and the house didn't have a lot of room in it, and we kept trying to like move this new tech into the house, but the house already
But
had
I
all the
like this
technology.
couch.
Yeah, exactly. It's like exactly. It's like you got to get rid of that couch. So we, the sabbatical was our opportunity to say, hey, we're gonna let it all go. And if you've ever let anything go, like if you've ever moved to different states or you sold your house and you're like, you know what, I'm just going to get rid of all this furniture, chances are you just got out of a relationship, whatever it might be, chances are like a lot of stuff starts happening in your life very rapidly, because that's what happens when we get rid of structures. There's room for new foundation, there's room for new structure. This program is all about that. It's really about starting to understand. Okay, understand is even the wrong word here. It's to directly experience a new facet of evolutionary humanity. That's a really fancy way of saying you get to learn how humans work in a completely new way. Because this is not mindset work, although that will be sprinkled in what we do here. This is not about getting more mindset work, which is really just feeding more of that achievement piece. All right, if you really think about what personal development is great at, it's giving you awareness of your mind. You have these thoughts, you can change the frame, you can change the story, you can let things go, you can complete things, you can have nonviolent communication. There's a lot of really, really, really good stuff in that world. But here's the limitation of that, and here's what we got frustrated by, and this is why we've invested so much of our time and money over the last 4 years doing this kind of work. And I'm telling you, it's, again, it found us, like the teacher always comes to find you when the time is right. So we, with developmental work, what we found is it's really good at overriding your programs. You want to get awesome at achieving? Do some personal development work, right? Like you hear that in Tony Robbins camp all the time. People go do his programs. Suddenly they have a company. Suddenly they have this. Suddenly they have that. It's a lot of having. The irony is with personal development, though, is everyone tells you don't do, be, have. They tell you start be, have, do, right? They try to flip it. And yet personal development does very little for your beingness. That's the reality. Because what the frustration is that you have these programs that are running underneath your consciousness. And no matter how many books you've read or videos you've watched or courses you've taken, you walk into a certain room, your body feels a threat, your body feels anxiety, your body feels unsafe, whatever it might be. Understanding does nothing for stopping that sensation in your body. And the moment that sensation in your body, your mind's going to look down and is going to start dealing with that thing. Now, you might be dealing with it from a higher level because you've done personal development, and so you don't get so sucked into the story. That's a really good thing, right? Like, it's a very powerful thing. So we're not poo-pooing on personal development. Personal development radically changed our lives, the course of our lives, what we were capable of doing. But then you get into the granular stuff. I really like Elon's analogy. He says, when you go clean a table, the things that are most obvious are the big things on the table. So when you go take your first courses, you're like, oh my God, this box has been here the whole time. And you start moving it. But eventually all you're left with is like the dust, the granular stuff on the table. And even though you're trying to clean up your table, if there's dust on it, your table don't got any shine. It's not a very beautiful table when it's all dusty, right? And it doesn't reflect well, so to speak. So the work that we're talking about here is really about this granular dust piece. It is so subtle, and it is why most people haven't even considered or taken the time to look, because it's easy to miss. So a lot of the tech that we're working with right now has a lot more to do with developing an increasing amount of subtle awareness in the felt space of the body. Because when people talk about radically altering the unconscious or radically reprogramming their subconscious, again, you can't understand and be like, okay, now I have an understanding that this is why I do this with my mom. So let me send a signal from my conscious brain down to my unconscious brain, which doesn't even communicate in a way that I can access, and tell it to stop doing that thing. Right? And so you start managing yourself because you're like, oh, I'm angry at mom again. I shouldn't be angry at mom again. Now I'm making myself wrong for being angry at mom again. Ugh. Sigh, exhaustion, right? Like all that kind of stuff. It's this like cyclical thing that we get into another vicious cycle because of what most of us have been taught personal development, instead of learning how to actually be with the energy that's moving through the system. So is there anything else you want to add about this?
I have a few things, but if you're in a stream of thought, then keep
Yeah,
going.
so look, what we're working with now, guys, and what we've been working on again for 4 years is working with mentors and groups of people. And we've been dripping this into a lot of our technology. For those of you guys who were with us in the 2 day event right before we went on sabbatical, I see some of you guys are here, Steve and Christine. Like you guys got a gulp of it, right? You got like a pretty big taste. What we want to bring through going forward is how do you start going down, not just being a student of the felt sense of the emotional intelligence of the body? How do you become a practitioner? How do you bring it into your daily life so that your routines, like Elon's talking about, are not routines, but it's like it's unimaginable for you not to do that because the amount of inner peace, well-being, safety, connection, love, this essence that we've all been promised of what humanity can be can be revealed to you in a very short period of time. That seemed to us like the ultimate, at least from where we are right now, work that a human can undertake. And even though these practices are as ancient as they get, they are the most cutting edge right now when it comes to the world of people's own development. So we like to think of ourselves really as these kind of like chefs that are taking and adapting from neuroscience, psychology, personal development, and these ancient energetic practices, and we're melding it all together, and we're bringing it into a single practice that somebody can do 15, 20 minutes a day, really not a lot of time invested, and start getting tremendous gains, not in achievement, but in terms of really how you feel in your presence as you being a human on planet Earth, how you show up in your communities, how can you show up in a loving space to the people that you care most about, which can be very challenging for a lot of us. So, that's the kind of stuff that again I'm kind of like talking about it, but we'll keep talking a little bit more about it and show you guys what actions you can take next if you're interested in this.
I was actually having a conversation with someone today, and I was just sharing a little bit of my story, and it really resonated. So I just want to share with you guys, like, Guy and I have been doing personal development work for 18 years. And I don't mean just like we took a course one time in 2003, and then we, like from that moment on, every single day, we have been at this. Different seminars, mentors, books, experiences, coaches, healings, practices, like everything. It's something that whether we were doing this Satori Prime coaching work or not, Guy and I were still doing this. Like, this is just something that we love to do. It doesn't matter what work you've done. If it's in the mindset space, and I'm just going to call out like Tony Robbins here just for a second because he's, everyone knows him. Like, any of that kind of work was created right now, probably about 50 years ago. So all this mindset, NLP stuff that everyone's been, like putting their spin on, if you think about it, it's been around for 50 years. Okay? Name me something, any sort of technology or any 50 years that there isn't something better today, right? Because with the advent of MRI and fMRI machines, with the study of neuroscience and quantum physics, like the things that we are now learning that we have gained access to is so far beyond anything that was created back then. Now, when things were created back then, my notion is that the question was this: how do I overcome my challenges? How do I overcome my difficult situations? And that was the question, the underlying question. And so what were the tools that one came up with? They came up with tools on how to overcome these difficulties, these parts of yourself that you don't quite like, the part that's impatient or sad or not loving or scared. It came up with tools to bypass and overcome those things. In other words, all of that technology teaches you to do one thing and one thing only, and that is to put a Band-Aid on a wound. Now, depending on how long you do the work, the Band-Aid at first can stay on for like a half a day, till eventually maybe you can even stay on there for a year. But if you've had any sort of experience, and I speak from personal experience, because after about 12 years of doing this work, I looked at the same incident that happened in my life when I was 3.5 years old, And I remember thinking to myself, I was like 32, let's say at the time. And I remember thinking like, okay, I've already in 12 years looked at this exact event at least 1,000 times from this direction and that direction and this direction and that. Like, it was just crazy. And I said to myself, wait, if I'm going to be around till I'm 100, let's say, does that mean for the next 70 years, I'm going to still keep going back to the same fucking event? And I got nauseous. I got like disgusted with the idea that I'm going to keep having to look at this exact situation over and over and over again. And it was that moment that I actually started to ask a different question. Because I wasn't interested anymore in overcoming. I wasn't interested in finding a way to get around or work through this stuff. For the first time in my life, I was curious, and I'm inviting you to get curious on how to actually heal these aspects of self. Not fix, not power through, not motivate and feel good about. No, none of that stuff.
Because not even understand.
Yeah, because exactly, because like all of that is just in the world of understanding. You know, knowing why you are the way you are. Because, you know, I had this incident where mom did this or dad did that or this happened, and because of that, this is how I am. Cool. And now what? It might alter your situation like this much, and I'm not taking anything away from that work. I did it. I loved it, right? Like, my life did get better. But if you're still dealing with the same stuff, then start asking different questions. Because those different questions are going to lead to different answers. And that's where I feel like that was like a real big pivot in our personal development journey. Different people started to come into our lives, different mentors, different experiences, all to start to show us that, yes, in fact, understanding is cool, but it's just going to keep you on that loop. And there absolutely is ways to heal. And I mean deep healing, to the point that you'll be in a situation where there's going to be this expectation, like someone's going to say something or do something or whatever, and there's going to be this expectation of you responding in a certain way because you've responded that way forever. And there will be a pause, and your mind will actually like look back and wait for this response to happen. And the response won't come. That agitation that you feel, or the upset or the sadness or the disappointment or the abandonment or whatever that thing is that's holding you back, won't even arise. And you'll have this moment where you're going, wait, like, no? Like, you're
no longer an issue?
Like, no? And that's when you'll know that you've actually healed. You didn't just stick a Band-Aid on it this time. It's like, there is no response. Debbie Ford wrote a great book called
Dark Side of the Light Chasers.
Dark Side of the Light Chasers, yeah. And she had this amazing analogy, which is like, imagine if your body was covered in outlets, you know, like electric outlets. And then, so say there was like sadness, right? Like someone makes you, or abandonment, that's a good one. Say something or do something. So every time something happens that plugs into the abandonment, you just are overcome by abandonment. And then you go into all of these patterns and programs to try to make yourself feel better and not abandoned. And that's the thing that you've created. And all mindset has given you is more new strategies on how to deal with abandonment. You go, oh, now I know why I suck at relationships, or now I know why every time someone really tells me that they love me, I get into this whole wig out. But you're still wigging out. So this work, what we're talking about like now, emotional intelligence mastery, is a way for you to put, you know, child protective thingies in there so that no one can ever plug in there. Like, ever.
And hold on, just to clarify, and it's not the protection like, so you're behind some kind of cast iron wall. It's not even like there's actually not even it's like the plug goes away. It's not even that there's a cover, because the cover to me is like, let me protect myself from this thing happening so other
I like
people
that.
can't see that vulnerability. It's like the vulnerability becomes almost a superpower. It becomes an essence of who you are. Like that thing actually gets turned, because it's not like we're trying to get rid of things per se. I think that that's actually a little bit of a misnomer here. What we're saying is every aspect of humanity, from intelligence to grief to generosity to anger, has two sides to it, because we live in a reality that's dual in nature, right? Like dualistic in nature, which means that there's a distortion, that people act from that thing, from a distortion. And when you're traumatized, when that thing gets activated in your system, most of us, right? I can't say everybody, but most of us are acting from that distortion, right? Then there's like the neutral place, and then there's like the gift. So at the very least, if we can get a body into a neutral state, what we have found is that the other side, the gifts, come online naturally. The ease comes online naturally. The inclusivity and the connection that people want comes online naturally. And here's why. Most developmental work still takes some kind of position that it knows what's best. I want that to just sink in for a moment, okay? Most developmental work takes the position that it knows what's best for a human. Right? So personal development still takes like, this is what a healthy human is, this is what isn't. So it speaks from that position that if you're doing this, that might not be healthy. We got to get you over here where it's healthy. And that's still the human ordinary mind domain saying, I know what's best. Which means anybody who doesn't fit this is immediately like, I got to make myself wrong. I'm not in integrity. I must not be taking responsibility. Again, Elon and I did this for well over a decade, dozens of years here, right? Like that kind of work. Yeah. It's when you're like, you know what, guilt and shame doesn't really work, but every time that thing comes up, you feel guilt and shame. And then you can't feel the guilt and shame because you feel guilt and shame about feeling the guilt and shame. Doesn't feel very good. And all it does is actually spiral and loop the energy even more. It actually takes you further away from the source, because now you don't want to feel what's happening here. What we're talking about here is getting the domain of the human body, the human essence, into a neutral state where the divine intelligence that the human body already has within it actually does the healing.
Yeah.
So our job is not to heal anybody, because to even say that I can heal somebody is coming from an ego place that I know what healing looks like, and only I know what healing looks like. Instead of creating an environment, which is really what this tech is about, creating an environment for the human system to receive from divine intelligence the information that this particular unique body needs in order to allow it to go back to a more neutral state where healing happens. Here's what I've noticed about neutrality. Healing happens, synchronicity massively increases, your feelings of inclusivity, connection, well-being, safety, love, all massively increase. So I want you to feel what it might be like to have safety and well-being and connection and love as the very essence and foundation of who you are, and then from that place take action, right? Versus where most people are feeling deficient, not enough of something, so they're trying to change what's in the mirror. They're trying to change the physicality of the world, of their circumstances, to finally make themselves feel better. However, even if they change the circumstances and momentarily feel better, the body is no more in a neutral state than it was when you started the action. So the action itself was sourced from a place of lack, which means that that action will eventually just cause you to feel more lack. And then there's that fear again, and there's that guilt again, and that shame again about, shit, I still feel lacking, even though I have all these things that people say I'm supposed to have to stop feeling these things. And it can be it's a very confusing spiral to be in. So it's like personal development it's like, like every mountain trail, right? I'm sure you guys have all heard this, what got you there is not going to get you to the next place. So it's like you are walking up the mountain, and personal development can kind of like get you up the base and be like, hey, look, it's pretty beautiful up here. It really is. Again, not trouncing it. We're trying to show the edges, reveal the edges of what this is, and understand that where humanity is heading, this evolution that we believe is occurring already. And if you want to be the type of person that's not like, all right, let me like check this out for a bit, but you are like an early adopter, and you're like, damn, I want the cutting edge stuff because I understand that there's something new. You can feel it. Like people are starting to use this language almost unconsciously, and they're kind of talking about it, but there's very few people that I know that have the kind of dedication that it takes to become aware of the dust that's on the table, to really have this deep, subtle awareness in their system. And I'm telling you, me and Elon are far from discovering the peaks of this, because the beautiful part about this kind of work is that it's edgeless. It doesn't really have a beginning, and it doesn't really have an end. And it can be something that you choose to do for the rest of your life. However, if what we have found is that I'm telling you, I know for a fact with my own experience that without some mentorship, this would have been impossible for me.
Sure.
Impossible. I could not have read this in the book to understand this. It has to be directly experienced with another who has already experienced it in order to point at what there is to experience. And that aspect is really, really important. So the link that we dropped in there, getemotionalintelligence.com/register, is the beginning of us putting together a community here that's going to be trained by us, that we actually are looking forward to creating as mentorships in what comes next for our organization. At least that's the vision, to start taking you guys through a 3-month process, a mentorship process with Elon and myself directly, where we can start giving you the practices, the glimpses, and the direct experiences to have a complete shift in your, I keep on saying understanding, but again, it's so far beyond understanding. Direct experience with the subtle space of energy. How to use and place your awareness so that your awareness can rest into healing modalities. How to start tracking energy within your own system, within other people's energetic systems. Imagine if you walk into a room and instead of being completely confused why you feel the way that you feel, you can start tracking your energy system, help your body actually move, resolve, and liberate energy, and actually use that exact moment of anxiety as an opportunity for healing. Or be with another, be able to feel the energy in their system and feel when you're pushing too hard on their system, so you can back off and actually have more connection with that human being. Would that make a difference in your relationships? Right? Like, and all these things are absolutely possible, are natural, and are not even like special in any way. It is actually the way that human beings are designed and what most of us do naturally when we're kids. But when you're a child, you don't know that you're doing anything. Again, nobody's pointing it out to a child going like, hey, have you noticed that you're tracking that person's energy? Like, it doesn't even fathom, but then we move so far away from it that we don't even know ourselves as those kind of people. And this training is really about bringing us back to a consciousness of how to use energy. I truly believe 21st century, and I mean this at the physical level, metaphysical level, everything, is a century of energy. This is where quantum physics will unlock free energy. This is where quantum physics will unlock how to liberate energy within our own systems. Like, this is the century for energy, right? We're seeing all these transitions in how we use energy, and that I think will happen at every scale of every level of society. So if you're the type of person that's like, you know, this is where I feel my edges have been. I feel that frustration. I keep watching the videos. I keep doing the books and the courses and this and that, and I keep getting stuck in these loops. What we're basically saying is we have a way out of that loop. This is not our way. We didn't develop it. We went and we invested our time, our money, and mentorship in learning how to produce this within ourselves. And we're at a point where we're confident that we can help others produce this within themselves. And that's why we're bringing this forth.
I just want to make one quick point here, because I see a bunch of you that I know have already been in our masterclass. I just want to point out that Guy and I created the training for that masterclass, like the videos that you guys watch, bro, what, 5 years ago?
At least, yeah.
At least, right? At least 5 years ago. So if you've been following us for even this past year, I'm sure, because I've heard from many of you, you can see the shifts that Guy and I have created just in this past year, let alone in the last 5+ years, right? So even if you've done the masterclass was like the foundation that we needed to be able to have this conversation. So if you want to think of this almost as like the advanced masterclass, like it's where we're at today, and it's the kind of tech that when you start to live from this place, Guy was talking about the divine intuition of the body. And he brings up this amazing example, which I love, which is like you've never had a cut on your body or an injury in your body where you had to sit there and go, okay, uh, white blood cells go from my heart through my hand to my finger. All right, like you've never had to do that. Your body just knew how to heal itself, right? Your body has also never gotten to the place after the 157th cut and it was like, you know what? Fuck it. Audra, you're on your own. Like, I'm done. How many times are you going to cut yourself? Like, you figure this one out on your own. No, it never does that. Maybe when you get older, it like slows down just a touch, but it's always doing it. So if we know that that's what is happening internally, again, like, what if you got interested on how to use that, not just on a I have a wound or a boo-boo, but like the internal healing. Your body knows exactly how to do that. It just takes you learning some new skills to put yourself into states, frequencies that allow for all of this stuff to happen effortlessly. Not with you sitting there and going, okay, I need you to heal this part of me that's really, really sad right now. Like, you don't do any of that stuff. But if you think about it, like the mindset work, if the question was, how do I overcome this? Like, if that's the innate question, then in that question is a part that believes that there's something to overcome. There's something wrong. There's something to fix. And in that sentence, in that ideology, in it, there's resistance. There's this like, I need to get rid of this. I need to figure out how to like get around this. With this new tech, you don't have to do any of that stuff. So if you've attended our masterclass, consider this the next level. We're absolutely happy to have anyone that's participated before be in here again. And I will say the one benefit to everyone that's attended the masterclass, you don't even have to apply. So if you've attended any of our masterclass programs before, you can automatically grab a seat in the new program that we're launching. If you haven't attended one of our masterclasses, then you can follow that link that Guy submitted, and it will actually take you to a place where you can apply. Because the people that we're going to be taking through this program initially right now in August, we want to hand select and make sure that the right people are in there. Again, this is probably going to be the only time that Guy and I actually lead the program. After this, our coaches, just like right now in the masterclass, you'll have, the future classes will have these recordings to use as the guide, and then coaches leading the programs very much in the same way that the masterclass is right now. So if you want to work with Guy and I personally, this is going to be your cheapest opportunity to do so, because anytime, like, the program is $5,000, right? The next program where we actually work with people is 3 times that price. 3 times, 15 grand is the next program. So after this thing ends in August, the next time you'll have an opportunity to work with us, if you so choose, is going to be at a $15,000 price point. So just keep that in mind. And I have a feeling that this next 90 days, like, this program is going to set the standard for what's possible in the world of personal development. I have a new question, and my new question is, what's beyond mindset? If like all this tech got created 50 years ago, what's beyond this? And this is the start of that conversation. Mm-hmm. We have seen, and we've been putting this into practice for years now, both ourselves and with clients who worked with us one-on-one, and like, the results are mystifying. It's
It's a good
to
word.
the point where imagine you do the work on yourself and then your husband or wife just treats you completely differently. Your kids all of a sudden go from, what people will call misbehaving to just incredible. Opportunities at work, shifts around where you live, things around your health, like all of that is accessible to you when you start to do this work. And that's the invitation. So if you're if you've done the master class, you can just, we're probably connected on Facebook. Just reach out to me, and I'll give you a place where you can go and save your seat immediately. Again, this is not going to be a big class, so you're going to want to save your seat fast. If you're listening to this right now, whether here or I don't know, maybe it's on a podcast or on a replay or whatever it is, and you haven't done one of our programs, and this sounds exciting to you, then your next step is to apply. The application is a $500 refundable application fee. If if we deem that you are a great fit for this program, we'll just take that $500. It'll be used as credit for the $5,000 program. If for whatever reason, whether I don't think that you're a fit at this point, or you choose that it's not for you at this point, then the $500 get refunded back to you. So you have nothing to lose. And as always, and with every one of our programs, if you go through this program and it does not blow you away, like knock your socks off, unimaginable results, my life doesn't look anything like I imagined it would 90 days from now, um, we have a full money back guarantee. Like that's how much we stand by our program. This program, you'll have Guy and I in the group. So we'll be working with you guys. We're going to be doing live group coaching sessions where we'll be working with you one-on-one in the group. You'll have your own one-on-one coach. We're going to offer people bonuses that register for this to actually attend 2-day live events that we're doing throughout this time that you'll have access to for free. So there's a lot of things that we're offering right now that if this resonates with you, I would say jump on it immediately, because the next one will most likely look very, very different.
Yeah. So again, just to clarify, if you've been in the masterclass, we approve you. They should just reach out to us, right? At that point in time.
Absolutely. If you've been in the master class, just like reach out to me.
Yeah, just reach out to Elon directly. Say, hey, I'm very interested in doing this. It's really just a matter of understanding the logistics, make sure that they work for you, and we're good with you being in there because we know the kind of training you've gotten. Again, and if you haven't been, you're listening to this, you've been waiting on the sidelines to do something with us. This is it. Like it's not going to get better than this for the foreseeable future in terms of your access to this level of work directly with us, unless you want to make a much bigger investment down the road, which is fine as well. But just letting you know about that. GetEmotionalintelligence.com/register. Links are in the comment box as well. Some of the details are there. You can watch millions of testimonials of people who've been through the type of work that we're talking about here and some of our mindset stuff to get a taste of the kind of results people are getting. I can tell you the ones specifically on the bottom and at the end of the video are the more recent ones of people who've actually tasted this type of work. So yeah, get that deposit in. Make sure you talk to Elon because the program is going to kick off here in just a matter of weeks. So we want to make sure you're set up powerfully. Honestly, guys, like this is
Just
it.
answer a quick question that
Yeah,
Audra
go
had
for it.
here.
Yeah, go for it.
So Audra was asking for a friend, because Audra's actually been in our program, so she knows us. She says she knows someone who wants to work with us, but aside from reading books, traditional therapy, lots of chats with me, she has no other personal development experience. So she was asking, like, is this a right fit for her? Audra, in the same way that the masterclass was, I mean, you get to say like whether it was a right fit for you or not. I think I know the answer. This is that, like, we really wanted to change kind of the introductory program that Guy and I offer to include this technology. We didn't want people to have to wait till the advanced level 2 program, quote unquote, to receive this stuff. So it doesn't matter where you are, what your experience has been. We're going to take everyone through this process. So whether they've just read books, whether they've never attended a seminar or worked with a coach, this is absolutely for them. If you have worked with a coach or attended a seminar and you're still stuck, kind of like we were talking about before, then again, it's just new tech. So it's going to be like learning something new, regardless of whether you've done something or not done something. So yeah, absolutely. Connect her with me if you want to do it personally. Otherwise, send her to that page.
And just so you guys know, like the overarching theme of the company now is going to be emotional intelligence. So there's going to be a level one, which is what we're talking about right now, and then a level two. And level one's really about revealing this to you, helping you remember how to use this tech, setting a new foundation from which you live your life from, and then honestly, like just that everything that comes through in your life going forward, everything is no longer oppressive, is no longer difficult. Everything becomes an opportunity. Every single moment, every single sensation becomes an opportunity for enlightening yourself versus having to sit around and think and do and act and and 5 steps and all this kind of shit. Like, you could put that all out the window. It's just no longer necessary with this kind of technology. And then the second one is like, hey, if you're a person who doesn't want to just be a practicing or a student of this, you are like, this is it for me. I want to be on a path to mastery. That's what the next part is for, is like, you want training every single month. You want training every single week. That's what we're doing with our lives, right? Because this is an infinite space to keep exploring. So that's really what the new development is within the organization. Um, I think this is probably like the best opportunity we've ever given for transformative training since this company has started, hands down. And because I could tell you we're in the trenches with you guys doing this kind of work, like this will be work that Elon and I do for the rest of our lives, without a doubt.
It's an infinite well of wisdom.
Yeah, it's an infinite well of wisdom, and so every week for us, this work is continuing to shift, which means that even as we do this course, it's going to continue to evolve. And I'll tell you, like the last bit, and it's like a private hope from me, is that the container that we set here with this group of people actually are the ones that start looking at mentorship and coaching opportunities within our organization, so that as crops of people start coming in to do this kind of work, you guys are actually the ones taking care of them. And then we're a little bit more hands off, because this is really about sharing in community. There's a big part of this that has to do with connecting to one another cohesively in a way that most people have never gotten the opportunity to do. So that's a big part of it.
So that's a really good point, and it's so funny because Steven just messaged me in like privately asking about the mentorship aspect of this program as we were talking about this. So it's just really funny.
Yeah.
I just want to offer that if you're a coach, a healer, a thought leader, you work with people in any way, shape, or form, and are looking for new ways to help them, right? Like in any way, then we should definitely have a conversation, because like Guy said, what we're opening up now, which we've never had before, for example, in order to be one of our Satori Prime coaches, the minimum requirement is that A, you went through the masterclass, but B, that you've actually like worked with us one-on-one for a year plus. So, the only people that will ever coach you have gone through the most intensive work with us. What we're doing now is we're trying to figure out ways to help those that maybe aren't able to invest at that level, but still want to learn from Guy and I and how to do this work and mentor others. So there are opportunities for you to do that now in the new way that we've set our programs up. So if that's of interest to you, whether if you're applying, we'll have that conversation. If you're a masterclass participant that's gone through, just reach out to me and I will let you know what that can look like. But we're definitely looking for people that want to be on the mentor track as well, so that we can train them to do this going forward as well. So that's another opportunity, but we can have that conversation at a separate time.
Absolutely. And then lastly, like if you have questions, again, you have nothing to lose with the deposit. So if you just want to like put your hand up, let us know you're interested. Spots are limited. This is not going to be a class of 100 people. So get the deposit in, come have a conversation with us. Worst comes to worst, this is not a program for you. We refund you the money, but you're like, yeah, I'm really excited. I want to do this. Go take action immediately. on that page. We are beyond excited to be doing this, playing out. We
We've done a
ran.
program like this in years.
We've never done a program like this, period. Yeah, I mean, like we haven't done a master class here. I can even tell you, like, things happen organically. Like when years ago we had again, now it seems crazy, but like 6, 7 years ago, we were just wanted to teach personal development. We were charging $200 a month, and I think over a 2.5 year period, we did like 50 sessions. Because that's just where we were, right? Like we were focused on our affiliate side of the program, and the masterclass, as it's been, were the first 7 sessions of those 50 sessions. It was never even designed as a masterclass. It was never designed as a cohesive thing. It was just a bunch of lectures that were like, well, if we put those all together, that's a program. So we've never actually put together a cohesive masterclass, like a mastery class. So this, and I keep saying masterclass because that's what we've been calling it for a long time, but truth is, this is just emotional intelligence mastery. We're calling it level 1, and then we have our level 2. So this really is just about your mastery in the subtle arts of energy. If I could say it that simply. For most people, that's going to sound like a load of hooey.
He said hooey.
He said hooey. Um, and I could tell you that it is the most profound learning experience, direct experience of your entire life. This will radically alter how you show up on the face of the earth, will radically shift how opportunities come to you. Like, this is not about learning the secret or manifestation, although all those things come into play here. But we don't have to focus on any of those things, because if you just take care of what we're talking about here, it will reset the foundation from what it means to be a human being on planet Earth. Like the type of experiences that everyone's going through right now, this intensity, I believe is the evolutionary shift towards the things that we're going to be teaching in this emotional intelligence mastery class. That's what it is, right? But for most people, that's going to be a very long journey, because it's like this intensity is going to continue. For the shifts that we want to see with what's happening right now health-wise on our planet, what's happening with the planet itself in terms of sustainability, what's happening in terms of racism and culture inequality and all those things. All of those things can get resolved with what we're talking about here. And I'm also letting you know that by you doing this work, it will profoundly change your relationships. Like, people that around you will feel this. They won't even know what's going on. They will just be changing without you having to talk about it and change them and make them do anything. It's just going to be a resonant frequency, and you make this work more easily accessible energetically to everybody that comes after you. Guaranteed. It's just this is not science fiction, like I like to say. This is literally science fact. This is backed by actual science today, what we're teaching. So again, if you're into it, getanomotionalintelligence.com/register. Get that tuition deposit in. Come have a conversation with us. Again, if you've been in the masterclass, just reach out to Elon. You're like, yep, I know I want to do this. We'll just send you the checkout page. It is a $5,000 program. We do have payment plans up to 6 payments, so we can break it up if you'd like. I think that's pretty much it for me.
Yeah. I'm good.
Awesome.
Excited
All right,
to have a
friends.
conversation with you guys. Excited to see you guys in this program, and yeah, talk about trailblazing.
Let's do it. Love you guys.
Awesome.
Thanks for
Love you
listening.
guys.